Counter-Narrative News, bringing you daily news today on Monday the 6th of February 2023. The USA authorities have used a fighter jet to shoot down a Chinese balloon that the Chinese argue by accident floated into US airspace. It's rather a ridiculous incident, as the Chinese are up until the point that President Biden gave the green light to shoot down the balloon vis-a-vis a fighter jet. The Chinese were absolutely apologetic, profusely trying to de-escalate any potential escalation of tensions between Beijing and Washington. The most war-oriented sections of the Republican Party, including former Secretary of State for Trump, Mike Pompeo, was really egging Biden along to shoot it down, and the Democratic Party and this wing of the Republican Party are in this competition as who can be most militaristic and aggressive in approaching Beijing. Counter-Narrative News has done a special weekend review on the Sunday, the 5th of February, that's yesterday, that we would like to signpost people to for a longer explanation of what's happening in this regards. In just very brief, it seems clear that the US is headed for escalating tensions with China, ensnaring it in a strategy in alliance with Moscow in the Ukraine conflict and criminalizing it around that, but also using the Taiwan, the breakaway island republic that Beijing considers its own, using Taiwan in a similar strategy to ensnare Beijing like it's used Ukraine to snare Moscow. Going over to Tunisia and Italy, that is, tragically very sad news. One baby has been found dead amongst 9 dead people in a boat of migrants and refugees that has arrived at the southernmost island, Italian island of Lampedusa in the Mediterranean Sea. The boat full of migrants left Sfax in Tunisia 48 hours ago and faced terrible conditions at sea in the Mediterranean Sea, leading to the tragic deaths of 9 people. The whole situation with this amount of death and injury of people trying to migrate from North Africa to the European mainland was really escalated around NATO's destruction of the hitherto very stable socialist state of Libya in 2011. And particularly from the actions of the British state, but also the French and Italian states and other EU states. They have all, with their junior partners around the people traffickers and death squads in Libya, have created this really devastating situation for people attempting that migrant route there. Former military dictator of Pakistan, Pervez Musharraf, has died at the age of 79. He took power in a military coup in 1999 and ruled for a decade. And his rule over Pakistan coalesced and collaborated with the most violent periods of the so-called War on Terror, which is basically a slogan that covers the jump up in global war conducted by Britain and USA, particularly in the so-called Islamic world. And in that regards, Musharraf really played into the quite complex strategies of Britain and the United States. On the one hand, Britain and the United States have historically and more recently brought to power and life through direct and indirect support of violent supremacist movements in the Islamic world. And on the other hand, use states and security services and institutions like the Pakistani state and its military-industrial complex to at the same time crush those very forces that they brought to power. And Pervez Musharraf very much played into this, kidnapping many people, handing them over to US and British authorities. But also US and British authorities were protecting the very same people that Musharraf was in part handing over to them, as we know, with the case of Osama bin Laden living it out quite nicely in Abbottabad in Pakistan until 2011. Going into other news, well-known far-right activist and neo-fascist Tommy Robinson, real name Stephen Yaxley-Lennon, continues his very manipulative, deceitful game and agenda in dividing black people from each other and black people from Asian people. And unfortunately, some people have facilitated the platforming of this person and his very deceitful strategy on their social media podcasts. Counter-Narrative News will be doing a longer video exploring further and intending to expose the agenda of Tommy Robinson and Stephen Yaxley-Lennon as he represents an important British state project in keeping the working classes divided and attacking particularly the Muslim community in mainly the Asian and Middle Eastern and North African communities, but also in other Black African communities as well. And finally, a recent happy birthdays to Rosa Parks, who was born in February the 4th, 1913, and passed away in 2005, a well-known icon of the militant civil rights and Black Power struggle, very much a comrade of Black Power revolutionary figures such as Malcolm X and Robert F. Williams. And also a happy birthday to Ericka Huggins, who's now 75 years old. That's on the February the 5th. She was one of the leaders of the Black Panther Party in the Los Angeles and California area. Her partner and husband and father of their child, John Huggins, died in what's largely been seen as a US intelligence kind of manipulated clash between another Afrocentric organization called the US organization led by Maulana Karenga. So a big happy birthday to Ericka Huggins and the wider Black Panther community. That's Counter-Narrative News. Please do continue to encourage people to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Many thanks to those who have promoted us across social media. It's very appreciated. And we wish you a fantastic day. Thank you.